Yeah, so hello everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to our March community call. Today we're going to talk about the peak and the taper. Now, this is going to be kind of in relation to marathon training. However, this can apply for all stages of training. So whether you're training for a 5K, a half marathon, 10K, it can be fully relatable, but obviously we're talking about it from a marathon perspective.
Yeah, obviously all the principles will remain exactly the same, but the length of time or the sort of figures around intensity and volume and stuff will just shuffle around.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about peak and taper phases. We want this to be quite interactive, so please do use like the chat or ask questions throughout. Like, we don't want it just to be us to just talk at you. And also there will be people here that are first timers. There are people that have done like multiple marathons before. So we want everyone to kind of like, for those that have got the experience, to chip in and help out for those that may be taking on their first races as well.
Yeah, a lot of lessons can be learned from mistakes, and if mistakes can be made or shared amongst the community rather than letting people make them again.
Yes, that's exactly
And that
it.
includes us, for sure.
Always makes for a good story, right? Okay, so as well, just a reminder that there are some was that Neil? So there are some modules in the 101 course. So there's like some further learning or further things if you wanted to kind of go deeper into it, but we kind of have pulled the information from the courses as well. But I just want you to kind of either write down on a piece of paper, on the phone, on notes in your phone,
Or shout aloud.
or like pop it in the shower lid, pop it in the box. What do you actually think the peak phase is, and what's your view on it? You know, are you looking forward to it? Are you apprehensive? Are you excited? Yeah, so just take a moment or two to kind of think about what you think it is and what your view on it is. James, what do you?
Well, I was about to throw that straight in.
What's your view on it, rather than talking about what it is, because I don't want to give the game away. But what's your view on the peak? Like, how have you found it in the past?
I think it's the fun stage.
The fun.
Yes.
You like being tired all the time.
Tired can be rewarding.
That's not what you were saying after the track last night. You were just like, I'm so hungry, I'm so tired.
I was more so because we had salad for dinner. It wasn't really appealing.
Okay, so is anyone, let me check. Anyone willing to share? Vanessa, when you feel strong, love that. Anyone else?
So Vanessa.
Yeah, anyone else want to share kind of what they think it is or your view on it? Don't worry if not, if you've just written it down, that's cool. So the peak. James, you wanna, oh, hold on. Kathy and Phil, mileage is high, highest volume. Good stuff. Okay, James, take it away.
Yeah. So I think the peak phase for a lot of my clients that are working to marathons in April would have basically heard me talking to the start of the year about getting ready for March. March is the peak time, or as Sam's called it, tasty season. I like that.
Tasty sessions.
Oh, tasty season as well.
When everything starts to come together.
Yeah, exactly
like
that. I think, if you look at marathon training as one big block, you can get lost in it. But actually, the base phase is to get ready for the peak phase, and the peak phase is to get you ready for taper. Taper is to get you ready for race day. But obviously, we'll come to that a bit later. So basically, it's the final part of your training before you head into the taper phase. It's typically 3 to 4 weeks in length, or in this case, March. And it's where you like to hit your peak mileage and your longest runs. Often emphasis on marathon pace and some
tune-up races.
Sometimes some tune-up races.
So you don't have to read from it.
I think also what's important to put there is like a couple of people there have put highest volume. Whilst volume is undeniable in marathon training, it's also probably going to be where your frequency of training is a bit higher, and certainly your intensity, and the emphasis then on recovery and easy work around that is important.
Yeah, and James and I, before, when we're putting this together, the peak phase, when we say like 3 to 4 weeks in length, try not to get too hung up on that, because some people some people's will be shorter, because some people's peak can be like 2 weeks.
Yeah, when we were putting these slides together, I think we probably should have started with this caveat that everything we say here, even though it's in black and white on the screen, there's still an individual element to it, and that's where coaching comes into it. This is all sort of ballpark / typical.
Yeah, because as well, like with the peak, your body's not going to be able to handle the volume or potentially the intensity that you're putting it through for a long period of time. But also, like James says, it's very individual, because some people's peak will be focusing more on the intensity rather than big volume, for example. But like everyone's kind of said there, it is when your training starts to come together, you're starting to feel strong, you're starting to feel ready as well.
But not ready.
Yeah, like, you know, you're seeing the benefits of your training essentially. So Thomas has just asked a good question. What do you mean by a tune-up race? So a tune-up race is often a race which is a shorter distance than your target race. So for marathons, some people over the last few weekends have been doing half marathons. And it might be, the idea behind it is to kind of understand, you'll be racing those shorter distances and to understand then where you're at in your training. So some people have tested themselves over the half marathon distance, and it gives them an indication of how fit they potentially are. And also it can be, for some people, we'll be getting them to do their long runs, and we'll be getting them to do, if for a marathon, some 20-mile races potentially. You don't have to do 20-mile races, you can just do them as a session. But with the races, it might be kind of, again, dialing into marathon pace, maybe trying to finish strong a little bit faster at the end, practicing race day kit, that kind of thing. So
yeah, but don't worry, Thomas. I know you've not essentially got a tune-up race, and that's not for everybody.
No.
It's individual again. If you look at Elliot, for example, he races twice a year, and they're both 8-goal races. So you don't necessarily need a tune-up race.
Kenya doesn't have the great running.
I think Kipchoge has the whole world to his disposal, really.
That is true. One of the things that we have learned whilst traveling the world is that the UK is unmatched for like racing. When we've been joining a few group runs and like sessions here in the US, people don't race as much as what we do in the UK. Like it,
Yeah,
I think one, they're quite expensive over here,
and people can over race as well.
Yeah, people like, you have to travel. So yeah, Sam's put like a feel good race and that's it. Sometimes we put like a fast 5K in the plan to get people confident. James had a conversation with a client earlier today who is training for Chicago Marathon, and they were asking, do I need to put a half marathon into the plan because that's what they're used to? And James was like, no, you don't have to. It's not, you don't have to have tune-up races. But like Sabrina says, getting medals is nice.
But yeah, again, it's all about you. Certainly for the more experienced marathon runners, I think you can get a better session in than you can race a 20-miler. But a 20-mile race is good for some newer to marathon, because it's a great time to test kit, test being in a race environment for a long time, those sort of things.
And as well, what I'm finding is with some of my clients that, for example, if you're going to do the London Marathon, it's such a big race. If you haven't had the experience of racing in situations where there's lots of people, doing other races can be good in the build up for that, to prepare yourself. Especially I found that in 2021, when there were some people that had kind of gone and done, they were doing marathons for the first time, but because of 2020, that's when they started running, they were going to do a marathon. The London Marathon was something like they'd never experienced. So I made sure that they did some races to get them prepared for the crowds. And again, that's what tune-up races are good for, is practicing everything on the lead up to your race. Okay, so last long runs. Now, again, we've got this beautiful caveat where we say everything is individual to the person, but it's also individual to your own block. So last long runs are normally 2 to 4 weeks out from your race day, and this is all dependent on experience. Most people, 3 weeks is when your last long run is, but don't expect the week after that for your long run just to completely drop down. You'll still be doing a fair distance in that.
Yeah, the term long run kind of changes by the end, doesn't it? Because the week before your marathon, you'll still be doing what's known as a long run, but it might not feel like a long run to you.
That's when you get to the point where most people do around 7 to 11 miles the week before their marathon, and they're like, I've only got 10 miles. And like at the start of your plan,
you were doing 10 miles.
You were doing 10 miles. So yeah, it's a nice full circle moment. when you get to that point. But yeah, so last long runs normally 2 to 4 weeks out from your race day. I in the past have done 4 weeks out, but that's just where my calendar fell ahead of Berlin. I did 2 weeks out. So again, we normally base this on your recovery. So someone that might take a bit longer to recover from their long runs, we would go 3 to 4 weeks out. If they're a bit more conditioned and have done multiple marathons, then you can kind of edge around that 2 weeks out. Now, obviously, over the last few months, you've had some gorgeous weather in the UK, right? And you've been wearing lots of layers and hats and everything to shield yourself from this beautiful weather. But hopefully in April, it's going to be a lot nicer. So what we do encourage people to do over these last few long runs, hopefully as the weather gets better, you can start to wear your, that shouldn't be training kit, that should be racing kit. Also solidify nutrition and any routines. So that's such as breakfast, dinner the night before, and just getting that all sorted, really. Anything
Absolutely
else?
that. I'm glad to see Shannon's put a laughing emoji because she fell foul to the weather on a long run on Sunday, overdressed and then had to take a few layers off. So yeah, definitely for your marathon as well, do not overdress. Like really key. Like you will overheat or you will get warm and then you realise certainly for that extended amount of time.
Yeah, so like we say, like dress for the second mile, it's like dress for the second half.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody to like whatever your preference is, whether it's vest or t-shirt, but you won't need any more layers than that unless it's drastically. But think about things like maybe sleeves that you can pull away or dispose of, overlayers that you can get rid of on the start line. But honestly, no one will be needing a second layer or jackets or anything like that unless it's crazy.
No, but with that, this is obviously going forward now. If you are doing a big marathon such as London, it's really useful to now start getting maybe some like old tracky bottoms, jogging bottoms, or jumpers that you are happy to dispose of because they have lots of like recycling bins that you can then drop off. One of my favorite parts of London Marathon Day is going to the bus in the morning and seeing everyone's outfits.
You're a bit sad, aren't you?
I've forgotten his name now.
Mark
Atkinson always turns up in like his daughter's old pajama bottoms, so these like unicorn or pink pajama bottoms, and it's got some jumper on, and it's great watching everyone turn up in their lovely attire. So yeah, although you want to be training racing in your nice kit, you've got to think about stuff which you're happy to get rid of for that. Sabrina, also go for shorts if you're not confident to wear shorts to start with. If it rains, you'll have to carry more weight if they get soaked. Yes, like yeah, I appreciate that some people just for confidence perspective want to wear leggings. Obviously you have to wear whatever you feel comfortable in, but we would kind of always try to recommend people shorts because again, it just does get warm. Like not even necessarily like really warm outside, but your body temperature is going to warm up and you just don't want to be feeling too hot. Like yes, like James says, you can take sleeves off, you can give those to friends or family out on the course, but you can't really necessarily do a
take your leggings off.
take your leggings off halfway around the course. You'd probably even get escorted off. Nella's asked a good question about a hydration vest, yes or no. That is a question that we got sent in from someone and that does feature, so we will come on to that later on in this evening.
Got my standard answer for that all the time.
Okay, so strength training in the peak phase. So we've been chatting with a few people about this. Now, hopefully everyone's been doing their strength training throughout their training block. But as the miles start to build within your peak, this is when kind of the volume or intensity may begin to decrease. So you can more kind of switch towards body weight work or shorter workouts. But also just kind of working on core stretching and just general mobility. Because your strength should have been built in the first part of your phase, or even before you started your training plan. And now it might be just working on certain areas that maybe are a bit weaker, because everyone has, once you start to log the miles, everyone has something that is a bit more, just because from our biomechanics, it might be you've got weaker glutes or your shins or your calves, and it's just where you then maybe put a bit more emphasis on your strength training around those areas to keep them strong and maintained for the miles. So yeah, you don't have to be going into the gym, giving yourself like incredible DOMs from all your strength training. Now it might just be body weight. And again, like just keeping your body mobile, because as you hit the peak, you're going to start to feel a bit more creaky. Things are just going to be a bit more tight and stiff. So just general kind of movement is going to be good for the body.
This follows the same principle as all of your training at this point about not under or overachieving here. So similarly to with your intervals or tempos, you don't want to be going faster than you need to be. You don't need to be pushing weight more than you need to be because it's going to be detrimental at this point. Just do what needs to be done. Single runs, B pluses, off we go.
Yeah, I think some people are totally okay with this. They're like, oh, strength training, I have to drop it in the peak phase. I'm okay with that because it's not their favorite thing. However, we do have some people that do enjoy strength training as part of their weekly routine just as much as the running is. So it can be hard from that perspective, from a routine perspective, to drop it out. But you will see a massive difference because when you strength train, if you are like loading your body correctly, you're breaking down the muscles, they repair and they become stronger. And at this stage, we're not wanting to break down our muscles any further because we're giving our body a bit of a pounding through the pavements with all of the running that we're doing anyway. So that is that. So some top tips, James.
You'll hear me say this 1,000,001 times in the next few weeks. Don't over or underachieve. Common goal here, a lot of people have tempo runs at marathon pace. If your marathon pace is 8-minute miles, that's exactly the target. That does not mean 7:59 or 7:55. It means 8-minute miles. Just learn to lock into that and don't be scared. Like 8:01, 8:02 is fine. It will average out. Prioritize stretching, recovery. I mean, that should be throughout anyway. So, you know, keep recovering. Listen to your body. Don't push through anything. A few conversations I've had with clients recently, like in this phase, you will feel tired and there will be some creaking muscles and joints and stuff. Like that's okay. But listen to your body and understand what needs to be rested and what can be run through, because obviously taper is around the corner. Do we need to rest? Do we not need to rest? That's obviously individual to you. You as athletes understand your body and get the signals from your body better than we do. So just make sure you're communicating that with your coach properly. Obviously don't run through injuries, but there are things you can train through because you don't need to necessarily rest just yet. And yeah, practice all your race day bits and pieces. So find out what bits of kits chafe, find out what's not comfortable, all that sort of stuff, and remedy them now. Hopefully everyone's got their nutrition now down, their gels, their breakfast. I've had quite a few conversations with people recently. It's not just about marathon day morning, what you have for breakfast, what are you having the night before, the day before, what are you doing on Friday when you start carb loading, what are you hydrating with, what you're eating. Start practicing that now. What you do want is to have a fantastic Sunday run because you fuel properly on Friday and Saturday. You might think, well, it was just a training run, but get it now.
And with that, with the carbohydrate loading, I think it's also really important. People get quite hung up on like what they're actually eating, but are not focusing on like the quantity or how much carbohydrate that's actually given you, because it's all well and good someone saying, oh, I'm going to have a banana and a bowl of porridge, but how many grams of oats are in that bowl of porridge and how big is that banana? You know, there can be some bananas that will provide 20 grams of carbs, some that will be 30. So really important to understand kind of the quantities of carbohydrates, because people are like, yeah, I've carb loaded, I've eaten loads, but you know, have you eaten enough carbohydrates is kind of the thing that you need to pay attention to.
And likewise, that doesn't give you the green light just to eat crap for a week beforehand.
No.
We see that quite often, especially at the expo. People tend to put like a picture of the fish and chips or a burger and go carb loading. Like that's not carb loading, that's fat loading. That's not right. But
we will do
chances are you're not going to overcarb, but just make sure you're getting the right things in.
Yeah, and I'll do a for the 101 course, I'll do a carb loading kind of episode module coming up as well, just so that you can make sure, because when James and I started to really look into it for our Berlin Marathon training specifically, it was so many carbohydrates that we actually really needed. And it was, to be honest, it was quite eye-opening to realize how much and potentially how much we have underfueled in the past. We've also got a podcast coming out on Friday that's with a dietitian. Randomly, like her agent messaged me and said, do you want someone on the podcast? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'd never met her before in my life, but she's from an endurance sport background, like triathlon. And just the amount of people that underfuel for their runs, and sometimes we'll then blame it on training when actually it's just a fuel thing. Like everyone's trained so well. Let's just make sure we get this.
Yeah, and even
fueling.
though we've all made that mistake, like what a silly mistake to have trained so well through all this rain and cold and dark mornings to not get your fuel in right and let that be what stops you.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the taper. Again, there's another module on this on the 101 course on Circle. Write down or think about what do you think it is and what's your view on it. You can ask me this time.
What do you think the taper is?
Oh no, what's your view on it more so? James and I have varying opinions on the taper. I normally love it, but I just think that's the...
No, we have varying views on Katie's view of the taper. She tells me she loves it. I witnessed that she goes a bit poopy, so I don't know that she loves that.
Yeah, I love the fact that I can
I don't love living with you.
relax a little bit, but I definitely have like paranoia and I just panic and I overthink and I overanalyze everything. So yeah, I'm probably not the best person on it. Phil's already put that when you get paranoia. Yep. That is the taper. But as well, that's because sometimes you've got more time to think about everything, overanalyze. Susan's put gives our body time to recover and get ready for the big day.
Correct answer.
I like that. Yeah, okay. Keep getting the comments coming in and we'll crack on. So obviously we've had the peak, then we have the taper, and this forms the last few weeks in your training cycle. This obviously is in relation to marathons. If you're doing a half marathon, a 5K, a 10K, your taper may only be 7 to 10 days. But for the marathon, it's anywhere sort of between 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4. Now, when we were putting this slide together, this was a bit of a talking point, wasn't it? So we have 3 things in the taper that we can control. We've got the volume, which is your overall kind of training mileage for your week. The intensity of the runs, so that's the varying intensities in terms of easy, steady, tempo, intervals, and the frequency, and that's about the amount of times that you train per week. Now, during the taper, we adapt these 3 things at different times to make sure, essentially, the whole idea of the taper is to get your body in peak conditioning. It sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? That you've done your peak, you've done a taper and you're getting ready for a peak, but your body needs to be in peak condition to race on race day.
The common mistake here is that people drop all 3 phases at the same time.
Yeah.
And the body will get lazy, and that's definitely what you don't want if you want to be peaking come race day.
And over the course of training plans, we, you know, as coaches start to understand our athletes and understand what things work well for them. So that's why going back to tune-up races, that can be good because we have a look and see how people respond to certain amount of rest before their race day, if they respond well to a shakeout run the day before, etc. So for some people, frequency can be brought down quite a lot in the sort of last 10 days, whereas some people, their frequency still needs to be fairly high, but their volume will be a lot lower. So again, it's just working with everyone individually to understand how their body is best going to react to make sure.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all here. And as well, what you'll possibly see is in the peak phase, you've been doing a lot of work at marathon pace or there and thereabouts. So your intensity over certain sessions may actually go up during the taper phase because you're looking at dotting the I's, crossing the T's and sharpening you. Don't be scared by this because the volume of that will be less and the recovery will be better because you're quite strong at the moment.
So sorry, it's just to confuse everyone in that respect. So because of this, we obviously are going to change volume, intensity and frequency. Some people really struggle. So with that, we try to work with people that if they're maybe dropping the frequency scares them a little bit, then we keep the frequency there, but reduce the volume or the intensity, or we just remove one thing. But like we said before, it's about getting that balance right. Beforehand, I know it's very easy to like, we shouldn't be too desperate for the taper. Now, a lot of us will, like the carb loading joke, will have a burger and say carb loading. You know, there's a lot of us within the community that will also kind of say, oh, I can't wait for the taper. And I think that's more mentally, and just because you can say it because you're looking forward to it rather than actually really physically needing it. Because I always say, like, I'm looking for the taper, looking forward to it, but you shouldn't be that desperate, because otherwise it might be a sign that you've like overtrained.
Essentially, come that last big session or last big long run, you should think, I'm happy, the work is done, close the box, I'm ready to taper.
Yeah. And I think that's like, I was having a conversation with my dad earlier. He was talking about us coming home and he was like, are you bored of America yet? And I was like, no, I'm not. However, I'm also, now I know that we're coming home soon, I'm very excited. I could come home tomorrow if that was the case, because I'm excited to so it's kind of like when you know something's coming, you kind of anticipate it a bit more, if that makes sense to anyone. And also, one thing I would really like to emphasize here within the taper is that just because James and I, if you are a coached athlete, just because James and I set your plan out for the taper, that doesn't have to be set in stone, because like we say, it's about how your body responds and reacts to the training to get yourself in peak condition. Sometimes I have followed the taper plan, let's be honest, probably not ever followed it completely.
Never. Just so you know, Katie's not giving you guys green light to just do what you want.
No, essentially it's talking with your coach to make sure you can get the best out of that last few weeks. Like, so for example, with Berlin, because of like how we were traveling about and doing different things, my plan changed quite a lot in the taper. I remember there was one London marathon, I pretty much followed the taper absolutely perfectly, apart from the Thursday, actually, even before the race. I had paranoia. I thought I had a pain in one of my legs. I rested and I biked, but then I moaned the whole time, wasn't I? Because the saddle was at the wrong height, and I was with James and I was like, oh, my bum now hurts from this ride. But then again, had a really good race on the Sunday, and it was just like, so again, you know, it just has to make sure that you are in prime position for race day. So what is the aim over these coming weeks? And the whole idea is just, like we've said, is to get you in the best position for race day. And that's both physically and mentally. So use this time during the taper. That's why we do some of these like sessions that are like these shorter sessions to tune up the body, get working faster than like marathon pace, but also mentally, you're going to feel good because you're in the taper, you're starting to feel rested, you're running fast paces. So, you know, we've got that boost both physically and mentally here. But yeah, essentially the whole idea of the taper, get you in the best position for race day. So try not to push it if you feel like you're feeling good. Like it's very, the taper makes your legs feel good. Like we don't want to be feeling good 2 weeks out from race day. We want to be feeling really good
race day.
Sabrina, I was already thinking about the fun James is having changing plans out without Katie giving us the go ahead.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, don't just it's not a changeable plan every day. Okay, so question that we had beforehand. When is the best time to have your last sports massage before race day? So James.
Unfortunately, this is a bit of a template answer, isn't it? There is no correct answer. This is, again, very individual. So for me, I would have my massage for a race on Sunday, on the Thursday before. I think Katie is a Wednesday.
I used to be a Thursday, but I think I just moved to Wednesday because that's when Rudy had the best availability. So yeah, it's Wednesday or Thursday.
But there'll be some people that can do Saturday. There'll be some people that need a week before. So again, just hopefully everyone who's in big training right now is having regular massages. So look and think what you're doing. So if you're, say, for instance, you have a massage on a Wednesday and your tempo run is generally a struggle on the Thursday, you know, one day is not right. But, you know, when do you perform best and when do you feel the most recovered?
Look at Shannon's question, James.
Yeah, I think it is compulsory that your partner gives you massages. Yeah. Someone could tell my partner that too.
James is because of my heel pain, James has been like sort of, because we've not had the opportunity to get many massages here in America, James has been looking after my heel for me very well.
Again, nothing in return.
So
I even asked for a calf massage the other day and just got a point blank no. which makes it a bit rude.
Everyone loves Shannon's, but yeah, I'd love to hear from everyone in the chat that has done. So yes, Shannon, it's a compulsory for husbands to give wife massages.
Partners. Thomas, are we supposed to get sports massages? With a lot of things, Thomas, there's no we are supposed to do things, but if you can get it into your schedule, then fantastic. Obviously, there's a financial commitment to that as well. But if you're committing a lot of time to training and coaching and your marathon, I would suggest if you can do it, then do so.
Yeah, so like, especially when you're in a high block, we kind of recommend like once a month. If maybe that's not an affordable option, you know, every 6 weeks is great. But we look at it as like we look at it as maintenance, more so than anything. But anyone that's here that has done like races before, what day of the week would you normally get it? Now, I think the question when it was asked was kind of like, you know, would it be race week or would it be the week before? Now, we would encourage everyone to get one in race week. And Phil put, don't go for your first one just before your marathon.
Yeah, and just also to caveat that, Thomas, as well, if massage isn't an option because there's not one local to you, or finance is not you but anybody, there are other things we can do. So self-massage more regular, using things like balms and bits and pieces, making friends with the rolling stick, a massage gun, salt baths. You know, they don't necessarily have to be a massage. There are options.
No, and I think as well, like, also do your research, because when we say a sports massage, now when you qualify to do sports massage, you just become a masseuse.
Yeah.
Whereas
physiotherapist,
James and I both go to see physiotherapists, and our physiotherapist both work. So James has got a couple, like I normally go to Rudy at the treatment lab and have been for years, and he also is a runner himself. He works with a rugby team, so he's very much clued up on kind of movement dynamics, how the body should work in relation to sport. James goes to see both Rudy and David Down, who works with like footballers and also is a runner himself, so they kind of get it and know. And James then will top up sometimes with Nev, our friend, who is a sports masseuse. So that's
runner,
and that's just for general. So again, it's understanding who you're going to see, because we say sports massage.
A physiotherapist will understand your body and the biomechanics a lot more. That's not to say a massage therapist won't, but for example, going to Center Parcs Aquasauna Spa to get a therapeutic massage is not the same.
No. I think some, like, if you just go and get a sports massage, some people like it can be just a generic one, can be painful. And so sometimes someone that is into sport will understand that they don't need to work so hard, because you still want to train after that. I think Sam goes to see like an osteopath who's like got kind of a different background. So again, it's just finding the right people for you.
Essentially on race week, what you're looking to do is flush the muscles out of any toxins anyway. You're not looking at necessarily repairing anything.
Yeah, you don't want to be breaking it down too much, so it's got to repair again. So so Vanessa goes to an osteopath 3 days before, and then a sports massage 3 to 4 days after. And Vanessa also said she has hers 3 days before, so that would be Thursday as well. So yeah, that hopefully should answer everyone. And so now, if you have got an April or May race, get those last massages booked in ASAP, because your favorite,
if they're any good, they will be filling up.
They will be filling up, yeah. So another question we got from Nella, and also someone else that sent in beforehand: is it best to carry water yourself and wear a running belt or hydration vest, or get water at the water stations?
Okay, so we get this question quite a lot, and it's a very simple answer. So we work backwards. The first question you got to ask yourself is, do you want to carry your hydration vest on race day? Do you want water at your disposal or on the course? So have a look at the course first of all. So if the course has got water London every mile, great. If the course is generally, it's going to be 5K. So that's the first question you need to ask yourself. So then when you go to training, regardless of whether you're going to use it on race day or not, if you're going to use it on race day, definitely use it on training. If you want to use it in training to have the water at your disposal, but you know you don't want to wear it on race day because you don't want to hold it, make sure while you're training, you're not drinking at your disposal. You're drinking roughly at where the water will be available. Because what you don't want to do is get used to having water whenever you want it, take it off, get to race day, and then not have water like you normally do.
Yeah.
So there is no you must or you mustn't, unless, for example, you're doing Chicago where it's against the rules to wear a backpack.
Yeah, that was different.
So yeah, I don't think there's a best or should. It's all about your general comfort. For me personally, I hate the idea of having anything extra possible on me, so I wouldn't. I'm sure Thomas doesn't mind me using his name. I spoke to him yesterday about it. He does not want to wear his on race day, but he's more than happy wearing it in training. In fact, it's an advantage. So he knows now to make sure he's only drinking at the frequency that he'll have it available to him on race day.
Yeah, great answer. Personally, I use a hydration vest during training. I personally need quite a fair bit of water throughout my long runs, especially when we've been away in different climates. So I do use it. And also I just feel like it's very easy to put my phone and like gels in. But on race day, as long as the course is good enough for that, we'll then just use the water on course. When I first started running London back in like 2014, they had a water station every mile. Now I think it's every 2. But again, once they release they normally send out a digital guide, and it will have there clearly where the water stations are, where the Lucozade, I think if it's Lucozade this year, we will go through that in our April. So next month we'll do a London Marathon. We'll do a marathon focus session, but also London Marathon, because we've got about 25 to 30 people run in London. So we did it last year and the session went down really well. It was really good fun last year. So we're going to kind of repeat that session again. But I have had people that have run big races before where there's lots of water, but rather than stopping off at the water station, they just wanted their vest, and so they were then self-sufficient. So yeah, that's what James said. The best thing to the first question is, do you want to carry that whilst you're on the course? If it's a no, then find out what your race options are. Most people will go without if the course provides enough. The London water stations are pretty
Any
good.
big road marathon will supply enough, so it just comes down to your comfort.
Yeah, I mean, Berlin was a bit of a pain last year, but I wouldn't have wanted
First half was on.
I wouldn't have wanted to carry my hydration vest. So yeah, and like
I
James
would
says,
also say it's a confidence level. If anyone wants to wear it because it makes them feel more confident, maybe just don't fill it up because that's more weight to carry, but to just have that safety net. If it's something that you can't let go of, just put a bit less in the hydration vest because you have less.
Yeah,
You have that confidence boost, because on marathon day it's all about confidence, right?
I think hydration vests have become very popular now, not even for water, but more so for just transporting items. And that, especially with the amount of gels we're asking people to take for fueling, you just want to be able to carry, because then if you've been training with a vest and then it gets closer to race day and you decide you don't want to take that vest, how are you trying to if you've been so used to transporting all of your gels and fuel, how are you then going to transport it on race day if you haven't got that vest anymore? Yeah. So whether that's like a running belt, pockets, and yeah, like Thomas says, carry 1 million gels in pockets. And I was saying to James about this the other day. One of my favorite parts on well, that's a lie. One of the nice things
Favorite
parts, such an exaggerator, but one of the good parts about marathon day is that like every time you take out a gel and take it, there's less weight to carry, and also it just kind of marks off like you've just reached another checkpoint in the race, and you're like breaking the race down. You're like, yep, another gel, another part of the race done, let's carry on. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. So has anyone got any other questions
on the peak? Or
yeah, does anyone know if Brighton is cups or bottled water? We need to practice the technique for drinking from cups, if so. Normally it is cups.
Okay.
Well, when you did your Brighton,
I try and block out my memory.
that was cups. And when we went to go and support a few people that did it the year that Alex and Spencer did it, and Kathy, it was cups. Shannon, ask Kathy, because she's gone now. She's had to go and look after Frank. But she would have done it. but I think it is cups. But again, wait until they release their event guide. It now is run by the London Marathon, so they might be doing water. But yeah, cups are very hard. So I would recommend, yeah, practicing running, like
Pinch funnel.
pinching the cup and taking it. But also as well, slow down and take water on. You know, losing a couple of seconds to take some water on at certain points, is that going to be more helpful further along down the line? Susan, I had my own bottle last year, but I'm pretty certain it was cups.
Yeah, I think what Katie just said is quite important. If you were to lose 5 seconds at a water station, that's better than losing 5-10 minutes for underhydrating.
Yeah. Especially with Brighton, as it can, you know, the second half of the race, it can get a bit warmer because you've come from the city down to the coast. Catches people out. Okay, so just some general kind of housekeeping, because we've had quite a few new members over the last couple of months. So if you aren't already, we do have a Strava group, which is just under the Running Hub community. So if you're not part of it,
Be part of it.
be part of it. It's lovely to see everyone congratulating everyone, giving kudos, commenting during training. So it's just a nice way to kind of see how everyone's getting on. We have the Who's Racing page. So it is on Circle and also part of the WhatsApp description.
Yeah, I think what's really important about this page is everyone thinks, oh, I'm coach, it's in my plan anyway. But a lot of people use it as a reference when they're looking for their own race because they want to see where people are racing and go to meet up with. So share where you're racing and let other people come and see you.
Yeah, like Kathy asked the other day,
Yeah,
what race was that today? What races are there in September, October time? Sabrina, the answer is always Circle.
It is always Circle.
Yeah. So if you click on in the WhatsApp, click on the Running Hub community name, and then it will say group. It will just the group description. The top part is the New Balance kit, so you can't actually see. But if you say show more, it's there under that. Oh, Mel, thank you. She's just shared the Strava link for everyone in the group, which is awesome. So yeah, make sure you're part of the group. Do update the Who's Racing regularly, if you can, just so that people can know who's racing where. Just might mean that if you're turning up to your first event, but you know someone else is going to be there, there's someone else in the same racing vest and with a smiley face to help you. England Athletics renewal. So again, that's in Circle, some details on that. Yeah, if you want to get registered with the Running Hub Running Club, you don't have to be. So if you're part of the community, you don't have to be part of the Running Hub Running Club, but being part of the Running Hub Running Club allows you to get £2. You get your EA URN number. You get £2 discount off of races, and just means that you can put yourself down as a Running Hub Running Club when you go to races. You get
probably most important for people, it makes you eligible for the club London Marathon place.
Yes. So you can be first claim or second claim, and yeah, all details on Circle. Club shop, what did you want to
just remind everyone we have a shop?
Yeah, so
we do have some, well, once the New Balance kit gets delivered in a couple of weeks' time, we will have some random bits on the club website ourselves, the runningHub.com.
.co.uk.
And then yeah, obviously the training wear website link is in Circle and in WhatsApp.
Yeah, so you can order stuff off New Balance, which is like the black training kit like this. You can order at any time.
White.
And white stuff because we've got a couple of things, but anything with the tri-colour sash, which is our racing kit, that's obviously done in Windows. For anyone that has ordered racing kit, James popped it in the group the other day, and it should be arriving
the week commencing the 1st of April.
Very start of April, so it will be with everyone for their spring races, which is good. And yes, we do have our own shop on our own website
with things like sleeves that got mentioned earlier in the group, and the brand new socks have now arrived, which will be going out this week as well.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So anyone's ordered socks, they'll be coming your way very soon.
The backpack is no longer available, Sabrina.
Everyone loves this backpack.
Really?
Yes, it is discontinued.
What's the best bit of kit?
Best bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, James and I use ours for everything, but ours now, because we've used it so much, the black is faded slightly, and I was hoping to order a new one, but they might have something new, will they? Potentially.
Not choose comment on UK yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, the current one will be discontinued, unfortunately. But yeah, agree. The backpack is amazing. We take it everywhere we go. We rep all the time. Okay, so just some upcoming events, so you know what's going on. Again, I sent out a newsletter yesterday, but so this Saturday, Penny and Wendy are hosting a park run at Millennium Country, which is Marsden Morte. On Sunday the 31st, which is Easter Sunday, James and I are going to be hosting a run from Willen Lake. We'll be meeting at the Willen Events Lawn, which is where the big wheel is, and we'll be doing different pace groups, different distances. So we'll release closer to the time, like loops and routes, what we're going to be doing.
It'll be approximately 90 minutes for those that need a little bit longer, get some miles in beforehand or whatever. But yeah, there'll be a couple of loops, different pace groups, and we can all meet up and then have some chocolate and coffee afterwards.
Yeah. So yeah, potentially we'll meet a little bit beforehand, and just so we get people in groups and they can go off and do their own thing and bits like that, or we'll do loop backs and stuff like that. In April, we've got quite a lot of stuff going on. So on Easter Monday, there's a 10K and half marathon in Bedford. It was
A few weeks back.
yeah, it was meant to be a few weeks back, but it got postponed because of the weather. So
quite a few people signed up for that now. So if you've got even just a run to do that day, that can be ticked by the half marathon 10K box, come down and just do it with the group and get a medal.
Track session, obviously to be confirmed. We're just looking at dates and times, which is going to be best for everyone. Then that Saturday, James and I are hosting at Sixfields Upton Park Run, which is kind of South Northampton. Saturday, 13th of April, in Battersea, there's a 5K and 10K, which a few people have signed up for. Do you want to?
Yep, then on Sunday the 14th, we've got a few guys doing Manchester Marathon, so we're going to head up and cheer. The plan is we're going to drive to Cheadle and then get the metro in. It's quite simple from there to travel about. Hopefully be at the start to see everyone off, and then get to a couple of points on the course where we'll see everybody. So if anyone else wants to join us, let us know, and we'll have a little Cheer Squad WhatsApp group or something like that. Likewise, London Marathon, we'll be traveling up from the coach on Sunday morning with a lot of the guys. We will then be heading to about mile 13.5, which is adjacent to mile 22. So that's where we'll be based and camped and making all the noise. We will have the Run Hub flag with us at both events, so runners can spot us and cheerers can spot us. Yeah, so if you are running London and you've got like family or friends and they haven't like they don't know what their plan is, then anyone is more than welcome to come and join us. We're going to be based there. It's normally kind of opposite the 35-kilometer sign, isn't it, on the other side of the road? That's roughly where we've been the last few years. And then after that, we have a little meetup and we head to the Moon Underwater in Leicester Square. So again, if you don't have plans, we appreciate that a lot of people, family and friends, have made a lot of effort to come and see you. So people go off and do their own meals and bits, but we will be heading to... Family and friends are welcome to come to the pub. Yeah, Moon Underwater in Leicester Square. So yeah, if you don't have any plans, then everyone kind of congregates there. Few different running clubs as well will be there. So it's always a good, fun afternoon and way to celebrate everyone's achievements after London. And then May and June, we've got a couple of park run meetups in the diary. Hayley Slawson at Chalkwell Beach Park Run, and Hayley Woodhouse is hosting at Long Eaton Park Run in Derbyshire on the 15th of June. And a little club trip in Bathurst. Yes, after that. So anyone got any other questions from today? Don't worry if you haven't either. Come on, someone must have something to say. Vanessa says, I can't make any of those except London. I hope that you can make London, Vanessa. Hope that day is clear in your diary. Where's your commitment? Why are you coming down for a park run?
I'm not allowed to do park run. You never let me.
Because you can't behave yourself.
Very true.
Although I will admit that James and I, when we did the park run last weekend here in San Francisco, I felt like we were going really slow, and I looked down at my watch and I was like, oh, 8:20 pace. This is not normally what pace I'd run for my easy runs. Whoops. So yeah, I can understand how easy, and everyone shot off, didn't they?
Yeah, when I said to you, why are you kicking for home? You didn't say oops. You just kept speeding up.
There was a girl behind us that was like coming for us. So I was like, quick. Sabrina, can't wait to cheer. Yeah. Sabrina's always either running it or supporting it there every year. So yeah, it's going to be a fabulous day out. Definitely one of the best days in the running calendar, the London Marathon, whether you're running it, cheering it, supporting, cheering from home, watching it on the TV. It's always really, really good. Okay, amazing. Right. If anyone hasn't got any more questions, we'll sign off there. Obviously, lots of dates and bits coming up. We've also got 2 community calls in April, to put those in your diaries, the 10th and the 24th. On the 10th, we will be going through, like I said, like marathon prep, London Marathon specifics, like all the details should be out by then. And then on the 24th, we'll just be it'll be like a graduation, a celebration. Everyone can come along and celebrate their achievements for the month. And then talk about like what's next and what to do after your races. So yeah, fabulous stuff, everyone. All good. Is that
You.
is that me? I'll give it a thumbs up. Oh, I love all this stuff.
Okay, so everybody ready for the peak and taper now?
Hopefully so. Brilliant. Right. Thanks, team. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, and we'll catch up with you all very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. What do you want to do?